Good morning and welcome to your Friday 5 for 5 on this Veterans Day 2022. On behalf of our entire team here at Islands First, I want to thank all of you men and women who have served in our nation's military. All this week we've been talking about obedience in our 5 for 5 video devotionals, and I want to continue that this morning. There's a story I remember hearing when I was a boy about a farmer who wanted to sell his mule. He put an ad in the local paper, and one day a man from another community came to the farm. Well, the two farmers got to talking, and eventually they got around to talking about the mule. Well, the farmer who was there to buy the mule asked if the mule was a good worker. Well, the reply was that the mule did a good day's work. Well, the man then asked if the mule obeyed every command. The mule's owner said yes. Well, the farmer who was interested in buying the mule asked if they could hitch the mule up to see how he worked. Well, the owner replied, "Sure, no problem." Well, once they got the mule all into his tack and harnessed up, the farmer who wanted to buy the mule took the reins and told the mule to giddy up. Well, that old mule just stood there. The farmer tried a couple more times with a couple different commands, and still that old mule refused to move. He looked over at the owner a bit angry and said, "I thought you told me this mule obeyed." "Well, he does," says the owner, who then proceeded to pick up a stick that was lying against the fence, walk around to where he was facing the mule. He then hit that mule as hard as he could with the stick right on the top of his head. He looked back to the other farmer and he said, "All right, give it a try." The farmer gave the mule the command and the mule obeyed it perfectly. The owner said, "I told you that this old mule always obeys, but you have to get his attention first." This makes me think of Elijah in 1 Kings 17, how God provided him with food in the midst of great want. It was evident that God was faithfully providing for Elijah. He had a brook to drink from and enough food to eat every day because God sent ravens to feed him morning and night. But then the brook dried up. No brook meant no ravens, which meant no more water and no more food. God got Elijah's attention. In this case, God wanted him to know that it was time to move on. So after the brook dried up, God told Elijah to move, and he trusted God and obeyed his direction. But God had to get his attention. How is God trying to get your attention today? I've always found words interesting. And did you know that our word obedience comes from the Latin word obedire, which means to hear? And by contrast, the Latin word for deaf is absurdus, which we get our word absurd. To truly hear Christ is to obey him. Not to hear and obey is the way of absurdity in living. I can't wait to be back together in worship with you this Sunday along with our worship choir. I hope that you'll be able to join us at 9 or 10:30 in person or online as we celebrate our Savior together. I hope that you'll have a great weekend, that you'll enjoy this Veterans Day, and that you will always remember to be obedient to God. Don't be like my puppy, who's pretty disobedient. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye-bye.